Welcome back to our Households of Faith study. This is our fifth lesson in our second part on spiritual practices. Again, all of this is coming from Barna Research Group's study on Households of Faith in partnership with Lutheran Hour Ministries. Last time we talked about the ways in which those people who do more spiritual practices just do more of life together. And we also talked about the ways in which outsiders, people who are not part of someone's family, somehow seem to have an influence on the amount of times and ways in which people engage in spiritual practices. Today I want to give you two more findings and one final thought about spiritual practices before we move on to spiritual conversations. In Matthew 25, we hear a story, a parable about some people, some women who are waiting. They're waiting for the bridegroom with some lamps. And those lamps have oil in them, except some of them are not ready. And so their lamps run out. And they're not prepared to meet the bridegroom, when he comes. In the same way, the study found that those people who regularly engaged in spiritual practices were more ready for the hard times than those who did not. So pause the video here and think about a time in which you were caught off guard by something you didn't expect. How do you wish you could have been better prepared? So hopefully you had a good discussion there about a time when you were caught off guard. Just like those women were not ready, they were caught off guard with something. Through relating to God in our practices, our spiritual practices like prayer, worship, devotional time together, we ready ourselves. We prepare ourselves for the struggles of life that will come. Because we're already in relationship with God. We're already there spending time with Him. And so when suffering and trials come, we don't grasp out to something new or something that we don't quite know. God is already there for us in our routines, in the regular structure that we have in our life. The second thing that the study found was that spiritual practices, that spiritual rituals, don't just happen naturally, that someone has to lead. Someone has to put forth the suggestion, hey, should we do this? Hey, should we possibly pray now? Or should we read our Bible about this or that? You know, in 1 Peter, we hear that you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people of His own, so that you may proclaim the virtues of the one who has called you out of darkness into His marvelous light. And even Luther himself liked to call the mother and father the priest and priestess of the home. So now, pause the video here and talk about who you think is the one that leads in your household. And as you do that, think about yourself as well. Why do you lead? But then what also keeps you or holds you back from being the one to lead in your household? Share these questions with whoever you're watching with. So hopefully you see that you have the unique ability to lead in your household as well. It doesn't matter what role you are. If you're the father, if you're the mother, if you're even the daughter, the son, the child, or the grandparent even. The study found that grandparents were the ones who were most likely to teach about the Bible, to talk about God's forgiveness, to set an example, to teach about traditions, to encourage each other, and to even encourage people to go to church. Mothers were next on the list, and fathers were often third. But it doesn't matter what you are, what role you have. Someone has to take the opportunity, take the step to offer up an opportunity to engage in a spiritual practice. So I ask you, will you be the one to lead your family into a spiritual practice, into a spiritual moment today? Third, I want to end with this thought. In 1 Peter, we read that we should humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God by casting all of our cares on him because he cares for us. Peter says that we humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God by casting our cares on him. And we do that in and through spiritual practices, in the breaking of bread, in fellowship, in prayer. We come to God and cast our cares before him. And so we do life together in fellowship, all moments of our life. We just live life together as Christians. We spend time with people outside of our family, and we relate to God before suffering, and we lead. And through all of that, we live lives that are engaged with spiritual practices because our homes are homes that are spiritually vibrant. Our take-home thing for today is a link to 31 prayers for kids and then a link to 10 Bible verses. We talked about how prayer is a spiritual practice. Sometimes we often pray in such big words and big language that it's harder for kids to pray. So these are simple prayers for kids that they can pray, that you can lead them to pray as well. Next time, join us again on Households of Faith as we dive in to spiritual conversations. God bless your day.